Welcome everyone. I'm Randy Evans, Senior Architect at CDW, and I'm here to host and moderate a discussion with Michael Traves and Damon Bear. A couple of architects with CDW and Nutanix. And this is going to be somewhat of an informal chat amongst us, and it's not a formal debate, so I won't be muting Damon's and Michael's microphones, but they'll be free to speak whenever they like. And if anybody has anything to contribute, you can go ahead and put it in the chat. And our topic, we got a lot of items listed here, but we're really going to, we'll really play it by ear somewhat in kind of going where the discussion takes us. We are going to try to restrict ourselves to generative AI and doing AI on premises and some of the opportunities and challenges in that area. So I'll leave these information for reference for those of you looking at the slides later on. And I'll get right to some quick introductions. So we have Michael Traves, Principal Architect in the area of AI with CDW. And Michael also focuses on DevOps, amongst other things. Damon Bear with Nutanix, also an architect specializing in hybrid cloud and AI. And without further ado, and because we only have half an hour here, so we're going to have just a few slides from Michael and Damon to kind of set the stage, set some discussion topics, and then about halfway through, we're going to switch it over to a full discussion mode. So go ahead, Michael.
Yep. Certainly. So good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are in Canada or the world. Welcome. So what I wanted to do was just kind of start the conversation around what is your definition of AI? What is AI to you? And I think, certainly AI has been with us in a variety of forms for many, many years. As mentioned, the generative AI conversation really took off. Was it November 30th, 2022? But yeah, so or actually 2023. But in any case, that's where there's been a lot of interest in how to apply that to your business and use cases in your environment, looking at AI in new ways. But we are coming from obviously an environment where artificial intelligence and machine learning, deep learning have been in use for many, many years at a variety of organizations for different types of things. So when we look at artificial intelligence, these are some of the things that I like to think about: machine learning, deep learning, cognitive computing. We get into computer vision, neural networks, and natural language processing, and what does it actually mean to everyone on this call. And I think it's interesting to understand where and how AI can be applied within your current use cases and your current workflow. So certainly, I think I'm actually in Montreal this week attending a conference, and one of the things that they're demonstrating using AI, it's an AI conference, but one of the things that they have is live translation for many of the sessions. So that whole cognitive AI, when I'm doing speech to text or text to speech, language translation in real time, I'm able to listen to someone in my earbud speaking English to me, but the person on stage is doing their presentation in French. And we've also worked with cognitive AI on some of our demos that some of you may have seen at some of the conferences, where we will have an AI chatbot that you can interact with, ask it questions using the language of your choice. It'll respond to questions about CDW and tell you about CDW in the language you asked it about. And you can ask it to do translation as well. And all of that content is being served through a vectorized database that's been, or through our website, depending on what we point it off of. But the source material is English, but you can interact with it in different languages. So cognitive AI is a big part of that. Analytical AI we've been dealing with for many years, with machine learning, deep learning, sentiment analysis. We've seen that being used in evaluating what's happening in social media, on the web, and understanding maybe where people want to place their next investment based on what's happening on Reddit or some other social media platform, on Twitter, now X. Functional AI, there's been substantial investments around self-driving cars, and autonomous robots. IoT is an interesting area, because as we start talking about AI and building out a lot of these use cases, we have to consider, what are we actually training these models on? Where is this data that we're asking questions about? And if we don't have the data, maybe we need to start collecting it. And so IoT is certainly on the minds of many of the companies that we deal with, in terms of adding sensors and collecting more and more data that's relevant to their business and relevant to the use cases they have questions about. Interactive AI, we've had conversations with chatbots now for quite some time. There's lots of different models out there. ChatGPT was from OpenAI, was kind of the first one to really go public and really change the way the industry looked at this. But every other week, if not every week, it seems that there's yet another model coming out related to chatbots around Llama or Mistral, I think was this week. Things are getting better and better, and there's both closed as well as open source options that you can use in your own workflow. And then vision, not just in the context of driving cars, but understanding, I think, facial recognition, certainly, and that can be certainly law enforcement, and we're seeing that implemented in some areas of the world, but we're also seeing vision being used for quality control, and taking imaging of, say, different points along the manufacturing line, and understanding if things are being put together and built properly, or whether it's manufacturing. There's a lot of noise. Someone's mic is on there. Whether we're manufacturing something for the auto industry, or whether we're manufacturing a sandwich, what's the quality control that we might have to deal with at that point? And so vision AI is also we're seeing a lot of movement in it.
There is no.
Next slide. And again, if your mic is on, please turn it off, or someone will find you and turn it off for you. So from an artificial intelligence perspective, I mean, it's changing business. I think that's why we're having this conversation. It's largely driven by generative AI, and it's because this technology is accessible, it's relevant to what we do, and it's ubiquitous. It's going to be everywhere. My son has a pet dog robot that we have at home that we bought about a year ago now, and they enable ChatGPT on it. So my 6-year-old son can have conversations using ChatGPT about what's important to him in his life, and some of those conversations are quite interesting. So this is happening everywhere. Next slide. Randy? There we go. And from a generative AI perspective, then we have to look at what's it good at, and these are the kind of the 3 main areas that we find generative AI being applied to within for various use cases. So summarization, I think we'll be using that today as a result of this WebEx being transcribed and recorded. We'll have a summary at the end we'll be able to provide. Generation, I mean, I think a lot of us have been messing around with creating images. I'm not sure where we're going here, Randy. Creating images with various Midjourney as an example. And I know I myself have been creating some images for some of my presentations, and I've had my son provide input. So it's a lot of fun creating content. And then classification. These are things that LLMs and generative AI in general are very good at. Okay, next slide, Randy. I'll start hurrying up here. And I think when we talk about AI, there's really kind of 4 categories of solutions that we like to break things into. One is solutions that are focused on the coworker. So the assistant, something that's going to help you read your emails, get through a meeting, help you build a presentation. So the assistant. There's tools that allow you the team to be more effective. So taking maybe a set of documents that are important to the organization that you're working with, Maybe it's I've got to write a proposal based on a bunch of documents that the customers provided me or vendors provided me. How do I summarize that content, get some useful stuff out of it? Well, let's throw an LLM at it to understand the content and throw a RAG model, which is really taking all that content and creating a vectorized database and using it as a reference to either respond to or query into. There may be organizational tools from an AI perspective that are enabling the organization to be more effective, your company to be more effective, and you can build those into your workflows to help from an HR perspective, maybe interviewing processes, things like that. So organizationally, how do they benefit you? And how do I deploy those at scale? And from a platform perspective, maybe you're the type of organization that's actually building products and building and training models. And what you're looking for is the infrastructure to support that particular use case with your data and your model. Okay, next slide. And ultimately, really, the conversation around what's required to build AI solutions. And to me, there's really the three things. Do you have the right talent within your organization to understand and go through the ideation phase, understand the art of the possible and how you might apply that from a technical perspective? And if that's something you need help with, that's obviously one of the things that we and other organizations can provide. Do you have the right infrastructure or technology, whether you're building your own solutions or implementing maybe an LLM to help you write software code? What type of infrastructure do you need? But then also your data, the quality of the data, where is the data sitting, and how do I make the data accessible to an AI engine that allows me to actually use it to generate a response and generate output that you're looking for? And data comes in all sorts of different sources, whether that's sitting on your SharePoint folder, whether it's in an existing database, whether it's multimodal and you've got text and images and video that you need to work with. How do I take that data and present it in a way that I can then query and gain the results that I'm looking for? In many cases, that may be vectorized databases, but there's also other ways of accessing that data. And obviously, the quality of the data is really important. The governance of the data is really important. The people that are asking the questions about the data that you're referencing, we need to ensure that they have the appropriate access to it, or build them an environment where they only have access to the data or to the results that makes sense for them. So this is another important factor. So I'll turn this over to David now.
All right, thanks a lot, Michael. So ponder this. AI is set to drive $15 trillion in global growth by 2025, but most companies are going to miss out on that because their infrastructure just simply isn't ready. And the question is, will your organization be ready? One of our clients, a major financial service company, they were spending months deploying complex AI systems with delays, troubleshooting, and a bunch of wasted time. After switching over to Nutanix, they were able to cut their deployment times down by 40%. Now their teams are focusing on innovation rather than fighting infrastructure issues. So we find that there are four major challenges that we see with organizations that are adopting AI. First is controlling AI models. Without a centralized control system, managing dozens or hundreds of different models becomes an overwhelming task. So Nutanix offers a centralized model repository, kind of like a control room for your AI, where you can see every model. You can import them directly from Hugging Face and NVIDIA, and you know where they're deployed in your environment, and you can monitor the performance of them all from one place. The next is securing access. So AI models are invaluable, and improper access to them can lead to all kinds of different risks, like data breaches and prompt injections and so forth. Nutanix provides role-based access control to the models so that only the right people can access and modify them. This ensures that security and compliance are maintained at every step. Deploying AI models quickly and efficiently is also a major challenge. Many businesses struggle with complex and time-consuming deployment processes that slow down innovation. So Nutanix solves that with a simple, intuitive interface that lets you deploy models with just a few clicks, drastically reducing the amount of time and operational complexity, and decreasing the time to value. Finally, troubleshooting. When AI performance issues arise, finding and fixing the root cause across multiple systems, including storage, network, CPU, and GPU, can be a very time-consuming process. So Nutanix provides a unified troubleshooting method across the entire AI infrastructure, allowing you to pinpoint and resolve issues quickly, minimizing the amount of downtime, and increasing your SLAs, and keeping your organization running smoothly. At its foundation, Nutanix delivers the Nutanix Cloud Infrastructure, or NCI. So this is a hyper-converged platform that integrates seamlessly with the leading cloud providers that are out there, such as AWS and Google and Azure. So we provide a cloud-like experience on your on-prem environment that allows you also to scale out into the hyperscalers. Supporting this is our integration with some of the top hardware OEM. So we work with HP, AMD, NVIDIA, Intel, Lenovo, Dell, ensuring that you have the latest in CPUs, GPU accelerators for high performance AI applications. Next up on the stack, on the software side, Nutanix offers AHV, or the Acropolis Hypervisor, for running virtual machines, and the Nutanix Kubernetes platform to manage both traditional and containerized AI workloads, seamlessly providing flexibility for your AI deployments, with comprehensive data services to provide structured and unstructured data services. Next up on the stack are APIs, and a large language model layer enables powerful AI capabilities. So whether you're deploying NVIDIA AI Enterprise or integrating with other models via Hugging Face, Nutanix makes it easy to work with an AI stack. So Nutanix supports a wide range of enterprise AI applications and solutions, whether you're deploying out-of-the-box tools or custom applications. Ensuring your AI workflows are optimized and secure is priority number one. Finally, Nutanix powers key AI use cases such as private and secure GAP or GPT, generative AI for code and content, AI system understanding, and AI building and tuning and training, giving you the flexibility to drive innovation at every part of your business. Nutanix offers a full stack AI platform that enables control, flexibility, and scalability for your AI strategy, whether you're running workloads on the edge or in the cloud. Nutanix will simplify that process. Next slide. So we have a solution that's called GPT in a box. This is kind of a way of looking at what the different components that are actually in the solution. So users will access the unified interface for the UI, which will give them access over to the models that they can import and deploy and create API endpoints for. Those models have access over to files and objects and other unstructured data that may be running in a Nutanix cluster or running in AWS or GCP or so forth. The supporting infrastructure will be running on a Kubernetes cluster. So that Kubernetes cluster can also be running on on-prem, in the cloud, bare metal, 3-tier. We're really flexible about where you're able to put the Kubernetes environment. And we can actually manage existing Kubernetes environments through fleet management. The next part of the GPT in a box is the inferencing endpoints, which allow you to connect to your AI applications, to the models, and you have a dashboard attached to those, so you can see the performance, the utilization, and the RBAC control, and all the different tunable components for the overall solution. So it's a very simplified process and structure in order to allow you to deploy your AI applications as quickly as possible and maintain them from an operational perspective. Next slide. And lastly, we don't do this alone. We are part of a very large community. We have a number of partners that we work with, from hardware, compute, from models, AI operations, security, pre-built applications, as well as our service and consulting partners such as CDW. So we really are part of a larger ecosystem that helps you achieve your goals and reduce the time to value for your AI solutions. That's it. Next slide.
Thank you very much, Damon, Michael. And to kick off the discussion, Michael, what are you seeing as current trends in the market?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of interest in how to leverage AI to benefit the business or benefit the individual. And, if you aren't using AI in your organization today, then I would challenge you because your employees probably are. And it comes back to some of the challenges that we used to have with cloud and people going out and putting their credit card down and getting an AWS account or an Azure account and just starting to experiment and play. And suddenly you're running your business in the cloud and you didn't even think you were. And I would say the majority of individuals today have experienced and have played with ChatGPT and do know what's happening in the industry. And if your organization isn't embracing that and finding a way to provide that in a sustainable way to your employees, they're going to be bringing it to work, even though you may have a policy against it. So that's the first thing that I would say from a trend perspective. And then really from an adoption perspective, I think we're seeing the trends around two areas. One is companies realizing what I just said, which is they'd rather provide it in a secure way than have people bring it in an insecure way. So the co-pilots, the assistants, the easiest way to get it into your employees' hands in a way that enables them to be more productive. And that's really what it's all about, is being more productive. Yeah, you can increase the productivity of your existing headcount, then you can make them capable of doing more work, and giving everyone an assistant in various aspects of their day-to-day roles is a very powerful thing to do. And then how do I do that at the organizational or team level, which is really taking this knowledge base, a data set, maybe it's your customer service people, and giving them access to the data set in a way that they can ask questions about. And maybe you don't want to give your customers access to it directly, because we've seen what happens when that happens sometimes. You may want your customer service people to have access, though, to empower them to provide better and faster answers and more accurate answers to customers on the phone or online. So those are the things that I'm seeing is immediate adoption in those areas, and really dealing with the shadow AI, for lack of a better term.
Right.
So
Thanks, Michael. Yeah, Damon, maybe you can talk about why an organization would run their own AI infrastructure instead of relying on shadow AI in the cloud.
Well, I want to make a quick point in regards to what Michael's talking about, and I think that a trend that I'm really seeing is a complete shift in the way that software is being created and used within organizations. So in the past, what you see is use cases are defined by the business. They know what kind of software they need to buy. They provide that to the users, and then the users would consume it. The shift that we're seeing now is that the use cases are being created by the users, and they're bringing that to the business. So I'm seeing adoptions of playgrounds that are created for a generative AI. The users become enabled and they understand how to make use of that. And then they build multiple use cases and they bring that to the business to get validated. So it's a bottom-up approach as opposed to top-down approach. And that's something that is really transforming the software industry. Now, going over to your...
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll let you comment. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that's exactly what we saw, in the first generation of cloud, empowering the users, the developers to, build their own options, really accelerated their, time to production. So go ahead, Damon.
Yeah, so in regards to your other question, why would an organization want to build their own infrastructure as opposed to buying it or using a SaaS or an API service? And this really comes down over to things such as cost, performance, model longevity, security governance, and reducing risks that are associated with relying on third parties. There's been a number of outages that have happened with some of the cloud providers that are providing API-based services. And if you completely rely on those services for a core part of your business, you're putting yourself at risk. What I'm seeing a trend occurring now is more of a hybrid mentality to leverage both internal models as well as external models and API services. So for the critical parts of the business that need to keep on running and are part of the core workflows of environment, organizations will run their own models, but they'll still be able to leverage the capabilities of the cloud-based models for certain things. So it really comes down to governance, performance, how many tokens and how much work they're going to put to the model. They can get a lot more value for their money and performance and availability by actually running that in-house, and then going over to the larger models that are up in the cloud for new capabilities that are being developed, and they want to stay ahead of the industry.
Yeah, certainly choice is very important, and having that choice of on premises or the cloud makes a lot of sense. Michael, are you seeing challenges in this kind of adoption?
Yeah, I mean, it speaks in some ways to that. It's where we run the model or where we run the tools largely comes down to cost, but also the challenges around governance. Where is my data? Is that data on-prem? Is that data in the cloud today, or in multiple clouds, in multiple locations, in multiple databases? How do I access it in a secure way? And if I'm going to turn that over to a model as part of an LLM solution, I have to ensure that that isn't being, say, sucked up into the cloud to retrain the model. So using the enterprise tools, and that goes back to the original conversation, which is if people are doing this on their own and just building a playground out of their own, off their own credit card using the free tools, then the potential is that the enterprise data could be ending up in those tools, and that's happened as well. So governance, very important, and understanding what data you're working with, and who should have access to that data, because many of the use cases we may implement are kind of are organizationally oriented, such that when I use a particular use case, I'm getting access to the entire organization's data, but that should not be available for everyone in the organization necessarily to query against. So how do I ensure I have the appropriate controls around who has access to that organizational data set? Or how do I restrict that data set, maybe create multiple data sets that are particular to various departments or groups of users, and hence I end up with multiple smaller data sets that I'm combining with an LLM to provide the right answers back to the user. So data governance, policy around who has access to the tools, and how I apply AI in the organization, very important. Understanding the quality of your data that you have, understanding the biases that your data may have built into it that you need to address as part of implementing the solution, or at least as part of looking at the results that you get back. So yeah, governance and data for sure.
And following up on the governance point, I find that organizations that are going all in and adopting generative AI solutions, they uncover a lot of technical debt that they had in their environment, because having data governance and understanding who has access to what is incredibly important. You can't just take all of your internal data and then attach it with a RAG database over to a model and then provide access to everybody. You have to ensure that it's properly structured, the right people have access to it. And this uncovers a lot of things that need to be done beforehand. So I think that going through that process and engaging a partner like CDW really helps uncover that. And then when it gets time to actually take that data and ingest it and make it available, then that's where we come into play. So we work really well together.
Thanks. And maybe, Michael, you can wrap it up by talking about how we go about providing these services.
Yeah, we're right on the 30-minute mark, but as I had mentioned, from an AI perspective, I think the biggest, most important thing is really understanding where to start and not being afraid to. So from an AI service perspective, as an organization, CDW wants to help you along this journey. A lot of that starts with the ideation, understanding the art of the possible, what use cases are relevant to you, your business, what makes sense to build, and then helping you with the design, understand the infrastructure requirements, whether that's in cloud, whether that's on-prem, or a bit of both, moving to POC, proof of value, and then showing you how you can run that long-term. So those are the services that we would look forward to engaging with and having further discussions and seeing what we can do, what our partners can do to help you along this journey.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for this short but sweet discussion, coffee chat. And we have a few references for you here to take a screenshot of and follow up later, or you can get the slides. Anything else to close, Damon?
No, I think that's good from my perspective. CDW and Nutanix are your best partners for AI success.
Thank you very much. And everybody should be expecting a follow-up email with access to the slides and the coffee gift card we were talking about.